Hey y'all, Grown Black Folks Talk live on the streets of San Francisco. I'm on the hill, the Anza Vista side, northerly of my home today. That's a lot of walking through streets, but in San Francisco we have things called slow streets, meaning that only local traffic is allowed and you've got the whole street to play in. These streets saved me during 2021, Paige, because you were able to come out and have the whole street and not have to be up on anybody. The parks were loaded. But at any rate, a small video from the north side of the hill. I mentioned what I did because I focused on what I could control and in 2021 and most of 2022 in terms of walking, and stopped focusing on what I couldn't control, which was the fact that my favorite places to be were overfull. Y'all, are you not overfull and overtired of talking about different people being ain't this and that? Are you not overfull and overtired of even evidence that people ain't this and that? Are you not tired of it? Are you not tired of getting caught up in other people's drama? This is a brief video because I can't tell anybody what to do. I can't give you the power to do what I suggest. All I can do is suggest and pray that you find the power. I was once told by a white man in some considerable financial authority, I wasn't at the meeting, you don't get what you want, you don't get what you need, you get what you focus on. Now, that's not entirely true. And he was a speaker, so I didn't get up and correct him. You know, the reason that some black people can't get what they want or need is because other people took advantage of us. So, but there was no point in telling him that because he was trying to make sure everybody in the room got skilled and got moved up. I know that if you have been victimized and traumatized, it is perfectly natural to get with people who you feel understand. And there's a lot of anger, and there's a lot of grief, and there's a lot of loss that has to be processed. But a lot of us, because the black experience has had a lot of victimization and a great deal of trauma, the issue is getting through the process and getting on to healing and growth. As a black woman, I recognize that a lot of black women's conversation is finally being able to be open about, no, we're not thinking about marrying into the situations our mothers, our grandmothers, and great-grandmothers had to put up with these men. Because as far back as you want to look, these men have been broken and they have been taking it out on us. And you even have content creators like Tony Gaskins, who broke down, the basic two archetypes, or either the savage woman who became as much of an exploiter and brutalizer of men, at least in some ways, I mean, obviously not physically, as the men did, or the suffer the wrong that put up with it. Ain't nobody ready for the third archetype of, we're not going to suffer the wrong or put up with it, or just endure it. We're not going to suffer the wrong. We don't have to become savage. We're just not dealing with you. And there were women back into as far back as you care to go that actually chose that option. It's just that, we don't talk about it as much. That's not written into the history of anybody. That anybody found a way to live their life, to heal what they need to heal from, and live their life without reference to the past trauma or what could happen in the future. But it is an option. I work with people around the world on various projects. All races, including black men down to American black men down to age 31. So I know that there are people of every race who are on the page of, let's get this thing together and work together as human beings. And let's put the foolishness of the past in the past. These people exist. What I would suggest we do for 2023 is stop giving 60, 70, 80% of our attention to what is wrong. We already have the evidence. We already know. Okay, so since we already know, do we need to keep going over it? It doesn't look better because we keep going over it. I realize that people have a need to feel vindicated in what they're going to do. But in 2023, we need to just do it. I was talking to a black woman investor friend of mine today about some of the moves that we have made quietly, and other people don't know about them. We know about them because we talk to each other, but other people do not know. They don't know what we have, they don't know where we have it, and they're not about to find out because we don't talk about it with everybody. I'll come bring her some information that I'm not going to put out to the general public. because she's ready. She helped get me ready. I helped get her ready. I'll come do some things with people who are ready. And in fact, at this point, people who are in the investor class, on a very, very tiny level, but everything has to start somewhere, come to me. And they are not all one race, and black men are not excluded. I have responsibility for 9 figures worth of stuff that black men built and that black men are still upholding in my community, which means that this does happen. Yeah, most of them are black male elders, granted, but not all. I have some peers who share in this great responsibility. Do you think it serves me to talk about what they ain't? That doesn't apply to them. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to date any of these men. I'm not saying that I'm going to marry any of these men. I'm not saying that I feel obligated to do any of that. It's not necessary, so why would I worry about it? Why would I be in conversations with people who are talking about why we shouldn't marry them and what happens when you do, when that's not even on the table for me right now? Why would I do that? I know what the numbers are. They're not going to improve next year, but they're also not going to improve if we keep focusing on what's wrong. 2023 should be the year that we actually do what we are doing. Here I want to mention Confidence with Love, subscriber, who continues to remind me, hey, after a while, we need to do what we're doing. And Confidence with Love puts her money where her mouth is, too. She puts her time where her mouth is. She's serious. I appreciate that about you, Confidence with Love. I just want you to know that. We don't agree on everything. I'm a Christian. She calls herself a self-declared heathen. And together, we'll sit up and talk about what we know about other groups of faith. And she points out, things about Christianity that bother her. And I'm like, well, if you actually read it, that's not quite what that says. But the thing about it is we have a common interest. We want to see black women and black girls protected and cared for. And one of the ways that we protect and care for ourselves at some point is to stop looking so much at what we hate, what we can't stand. Because remember, there is a extent to which this white speaker I listened to almost a decade ago was right. If all you focus on is what you hate, your life and your mentality will be filled with what you hate. At some point, if you want to see what you love established, you actually have to go do what you love. You have to stop externalizing. Everything else is the reason why you can't. You actually have to do the work of healing so that you can. I did the video about even Michael Jordan. He could externalize his abuse of himself. And it worked for him. And some people it will. But for the vast majority of people, as he found out in the next 20 years, even Michael Jordan messed around and found out that that's not going to be a winning strategy most of the time. It's not going to be a winning strategy for most of us. So, for 2023, my suggestion is we have spent a lot of time in the past. Actually, we can go ahead and walk. It's getting cold right here. We have spent a lot of time in the past year or 2 or 3. We have outlived the gentleman who wanted to remind us of what happens every year. Winter is coming. We outlived him. If you're listening to me, you outlived him. Congratulations. Winter will come for you. Winter will find him with formaldehyde leaching from his bones into whatever grave he found his way to. So, are we going to spend another year? Go look at some actuarial charts. Remove my father's survivor generation of men out of it. I'm like, wait, if people like me have a life expectancy, take care of myself, got to get out here and get my walking done. If people like me have a life expectancy of 75 to 81 years, does it even make sense for me to be spending time arguing with people whose life expectancy is now 65 to 72, and when my father's generation leaves, may settle down to 55 to 62? First of all, They don't have time to spend arguing with me, and I need to make the most of my 75 to 81 years. The women that I talk about investments with, some of them, there's at least two I can think of off the top of my head. 69 and 64. And all of them are sitting up here talking about, well, I'm going to start this, and then I have a plan for my children. I have a plan for my grandchildren. One of them is married, one of them is not. They have 10, 15, 16 years. If they take good care of themselves, maybe more. Maybe, 10, even the eldest one could have 12 years, 15 years to go. The youngest one could have 15, 16, 20 if she takes good care of herself. Like I said, all of us got to be out here doing what we do. But there's no time to waste if you have better things to do. They have children and grandchildren. They have, one of them, if you should see this confidence with love, has daughters. And she is serious about making sure her daughters have what they need. The other one has a son and a daughter. And she's interested in making sure her daughter, because her son should have skills and is, working with his father right now, making sure her daughter has what she needs. So if you gonna be about it, if we're looking at every reason why, well, these men ain't gonna support us, okay, then what does that mean you need to do? Yes, and it's not fair. And of course, I know my divestment women are talking about, okay, well, you can get another type of man. Yes, you can. But let me tell you something. As someone who was approached by an investor for an investment from that side of the human family, you don't get those kind of approaches, even on a financial basis, if you do not have a track record of knowing what you're doing. That's true in every sphere. There are not men out there just waiting to pick up black women because black women feel they need to pick up. That's not how any of this works, ladies. You have to be in the process. It's too cold out here to stand around. Winter is coming. And also spring. But you have to be in the process of doing whatever it is you want to do. You want to get with a higher resource man? Then you need to have higher resource skills. In every way. I'm not talking about your age. I'm not talking about your education level right now. But there's all kind of opportunities to get education. A problem I had last week, a real learning curve. Do you know that learning curve, having defeated it, opened me up for an opportunity that would get me extra money next month? Extra 4 figures. If I can get it all. Yeah, there's competition. But you know who I have to compete with the most? And anybody interested in progressing is going to be looking at this. You have to compete the hardest, not with everybody external to you, but with the dumber, weaker version of yourself. Miss Deanne's competition. You know who Miss D's competition is? The dumber, weaker version of herself. The version of herself that was 20 pounds heavier than I am today. That because it's cold and there is some soreness and there was a major injury 5 years ago. The version that's like either, there's 2 dumber versions. So it's not even just one. I feel good today. Let me overdo it and then be down for a week. Or let me just skip a bunch of days because the sun isn't even shining and it looks terrible out there. There's 2 dumber versions. And this could come up in any kind of way, but I have enough to do without externalizing my problems on something else. And if you are going to move in different communities, guess what? You talking about who you hate and putting your energy into that, that's a no-no. Because hating on other people is not growth. Hating on other people will not let you heal. Hating on other people is a no-no. You draw enemies to yourself you don't need. Because who is Miss D's first enemy? Miss D looks at Miss D's worst enemy every morning in the mirror. And guess who you look in the mirror every morning? Your worst enemy. The one who wants you to stay focused on everything else but what you need to do for yourself. I'm not saying that there are not near despair-inducing problems out here. I'm not saying that. I'm saying for 2023, if you want to see things get better, then you need to focus on learning and being with people who are doing the work. That's all I'm saying. I personally will not be engaging in round-the-corner competitions. I already know what the stats are on certain people. I can give you the 5,000 year stats if you want them. I did the video on how Nimrod got slapped, that the son of Cush got slapped down by God himself for trying to get to his spot. I already did that story about how the black man started civilization and got slapped by God himself. I already did that story. I can go back 5,000 years with you, but I'm not going to do that video again. We have established that. You want to read it, go read Genesis 10 and 11. If you need to take the lesson from it, any man trying to be God is going to get slapped down. So what you want to do is avoid all men of every color, since all people came from black folk who are like this, and all women also. You know, today we know, crossing the shadow here, today we know how ridiculous that whole thing was. You're not using the right tools for the right job. You know, we're going to build a ceramic tower into the heavens. But they didn't know back then. Just understand that there's some things to learn from that. But we're not going to do that lesson again. That's done. It's over. So for 2023, put a close on some conversations and some discussions about this ain't this and this ain't this. Just stop. Start focusing on, if you're interested in Group X and their betterment, then work on Group X and their betterment. This would also improve their defense. Focus on that. Yeah, we need to take 10% of our time to keep up with whatever the news is. Granted, maybe even 20% depending on how big the news is. But you're not going to get anywhere marinating in hatred and anger. There is no exception to the rule. Check the record. How long did regimes like that last in history? Check the books. Less than a century in most cases. And even while they were lasting, if you get the history told right, there were always people that managed to successfully resist. I suggest you learn the task that it takes internally to successfully resist the foolishness. And while we still have a relatively large amount of freedom in the United States, may I suggest you use them. All right. Just a suggestion. I can't tell you what to do. I'm not going to blame, shame, and berate, but I'm also not going to counter you, because 2023 is a whole new year, and if you do not choose growth, the consequences of all that are on you. All right, y'all have a good day now. I got to finish my walk and go buy an item that is necessary for my well-being. A whole bunches of spinach. Y'all enjoy your day now. Goodbye.